The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and I hope you're having a great day today. And no matter where you're tuning in from, where you are streaming in, we are so glad that you are here. It is all about engaging conversations, elevating health and wellness, and empowering transformation. So, as you see, when you are tuning into our show today, we've got some important show notes at the bottom of the screen. So, make sure that you take note, and any takeaways that you see and any contact information that you're going to want to tap into, definitely look into that. And that's where you'll find some of our information. So let's get into this. I am excited about our next guest. She is someone who I came across a little while back, and I was extremely profound at how graceful and elegant this woman truly is. She is somebody who is representing two different spaces and has such a colorful artistic background that you and I are both going to be able to learn from her. She is a woman that a good bit of her backstory is in education. She is the CEO of 3 learning centers. And then in addition to that, she has had the incredible opportunity of helping women redefine their look, their custom blends. And the way she does it is such finesse. And she's doing it all as she navigates through some uncertainty in her life that she's going to share about, especially as she learned her diagnosis with multiple sclerosis. So we're going to get into all of that. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you my guest today, Cornelia Bebe Stevens. Cornelia, how are you?
Hello there. I am so excited. Thank you so much for having me. And your intro was beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. So I got to tell our viewers that the first time I came across you, I did see you on TikTok, and I was blown away by the way that you were helping women to custom blend and sharing how you help recreate the foundation, their overall look. So I want to go into that, of course. But can you tell us a little bit about your backstory and who is Bebe and all that implies?
There you go. Well, a little bit about me. A little bit about me. So, as you said, my name is Cornelia. My nickname is Bebe, and so I actually grew up in the theater world. And my mom was actually on Broadway traveling as a performer, and she ended up in Miami, Florida, and opened a children's theater in Miami. And I spent my life really worked doing musical theater, doing fashion shows, doing television, and then eventually started singing for a living. And during that time, her name is Cornelia as well. So I'm actually Cornelia the third because we're named after my grandmother. And but Bebe is my nickname, and Bebe's been my family nickname. And I was singing in a nightclub, and that's how I made my living as I grew up. And I got pregnant with my son. I was 25 years old. And at 25, I said, okay, well, this was not my plan. This was not what was supposed to happen. And so I decided to kind of take a little curve. I say that it's because I couldn't fit into my nightclub clothes anymore. But really, it was, I wanted to have a little more stability because I know what it was like having grown up in the theater world and what it's like to be the kid traveling in the trunk, with things traveling from place to place or whatnot. I mean, she traveled with the touring company of Jesus Christ Superstar and Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope, and lots of performances like that. And I wanted something different for my son. So I actually took my music background and I went to school for music therapy and became a music therapist working with children, but also working with the criminally insane. And so I kind of left Bebe, behind and became Cornelia, professional in a different sense, and spent, a long part of my life, probably 20 years of my life, really focusing on programs and services that help children, families, and adults from whether it's a mental health standpoint or just doing things to be able to improve their lives. And but somewhere along the way, I lost baby, and that was kind of an interesting thing. For actually, it was my husband, I think, who secretly realized that there was a part of me that was missing, because I'm one of those strange people that uses the left and right side of my brain. And so I had the side of me that was analytical and, thought, like to think and process and dig deep into stuff, but I was missing that creative edge, right? And so he said, I think that you should focus on the makeup. I think you should focus on makeup. And I'm like, I hardly wear makeup. If I'm not doing videos or I'm not making my TikToks or whatever, I put on foundation, but that's about it. And I went and had somebody make my foundation. And I saw them add purple and yellow and blue and all of these colors. And I'm like, I don't have purple skin. I don't know what they're doing right now because I didn't understand color theory at all. And but next thing you know, I had this foundation that looked like me. And long story short, I had to come back and tell him he was right. And no good comes from that, right? And so to this day, he takes total credit for my success. But there are so many women who struggle in finding foundations that look like them. And when you can't see yourself in the makeup that you buy, sometimes you think there's something wrong with your skin tone. There's something wrong with you. And so that was kind of the beginning of my journey in terms of custom blend, but also my journey in finding baby again. And so I actually call it my journey of bringing baby back. And so, I went from, Cornelia to baby, and now I've actually found a way to be a little bit of both and do that comfortably.
That's fantastic. I love that. And I love the fact, I remember when you and I first talked and you were talking a little bit about the theater and the different elements that you experienced along the way. And what would you say are some strong points that you took away from the arts that are allowing you to move the needle forward in all the things that you're wanting to do in life?
That's so interesting you asked that question. And so, growing up as the daughter of the owner has its
Mhm.
blessings, but also when you're a child, it doesn't feel like such a blessing. So if when we are in our theater doing Wizard of Oz and Dorothy doesn't show up, guess who's Dorothy, right? And so, guess who's the Tin Man? Guess who's whomever? And so I was the stand-in for any person that didn't show up that day. I helped teach dance classes. I helped teach voice lessons. I helped do all of everything to be able to help my mom with her theater. And at the time, I was doing it because it was my mom, okay, and it's what I'm supposed to do to be able to help. But when I look back at it now, all of the things that I did growing up helped prepare me to do the things that I'm doing now in my life. Because I would not be able to comfortably even sit here and be able to speak to you if I hadn't had the opportunities with my mom, fussing me on the stage to enunciate and to speak loud and to make sure they can hear you and to express yourself and to all of the things that I was like, oh my God, really? And so, but all of this stuff is helping me, even in terms of like my job with my preschools. I used to help her write grants, and it was just this chore, but I write grants for our schools, and so again, all of the things that I did growing up and helping her from a theater perspective, but also as a business owner, have that really been able to help shape me in terms of what I'm doing now and prepare me. And I think that was kind of my moment when I said, everything in life prepares you for your next journey. And I really do believe that, even being a single mom with my son going to college, now with my preschools, I'm able to actually help people who are some single parents, but majority of our population is low income. And I was a single mom struggling financially. I'm able to see things from their same lens, and then develop programs and services to be able to help them because I've lived the life they've lived. And so, again, everything in life, I think, prepares you for your next journey. And so, at the time, maybe I didn't see it, but I can look at it now and see that it was a blessing.
That's fantastic, and that's incredible. I will tell you that's one thing I do have in common with you is that there was a time where I was a single mom as well, and it does have the challenges in life. What helped you stay focused as a woman, just navigating through each and every single chapter? This is I always like to delve into some of the behind the scenes, the essence that so many incredible women are able to exude in life. What helped you stay connected as you were getting experience in the arts, as you were transitioning in your role, and being able to do what you were doing in the education space?
So I refer to that as my why, right? And so because the why is what helps you get through the hard times and helps you, go through the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And my why actually goes back to when I was 25 and found out that I was pregnant with my son. And I actually had, someone tell me, that I should make different decisions in terms of what I should do with my son. And if I chose to have him, I was going to be another single Black woman on welfare.
Oh,
And that's what I was told. And fast forward, I had my son, and at 6 months old, I went back to college when he was 6 months old as a single mom, and I became a single Black mom on welfare. But I had to go to school. Like I was trying to go to school and get my education. I ended up on food stamps. I was the first person in my family to ever be on food stamps, and that was at the time when we didn't have those, little debit cards we have now, where you wouldn't know the difference. This was when you had the Monopoly money, the big giant green things or whatever that you had to
yes.
stand in a line to get, and it was totally embarrassing, but it was what I had to do to be able to take care of my child. And I graduated cum laude, with my bachelor's, and as a single mom, and it was amazing. And when I was done, I went back to the office, where you get the assistants or whatnot. I told them I don't want any help from them, and I've never gone back. And my why is that I never want to be in a situation again where I can't take care of the people that God has blessed me with. Where I'm not able to take care of myself, where I'm not able to, I have to look to others for food, where I have to look for others, to others to be able to take care and survive. I won't do that again. And I hold on to, some people say, that's your past, leave it alone. My past shapes me, that shapes who I am. But I don't want to go back there. I mean, it's okay. It shaped me, and I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my child, about parenting. I didn't know my dad until I was 35 years old. So I'm raising a son. Like I didn't know what to do. We don't have the same parts. I don't know what to do or whatever. I don't know any of that or whatever. But I learned so much in that journey. And so my why is my kids. My why is making sure that I'm never in a place where I'm not able to stand on my own 2 feet. And so that's what keeps me focused. That's what keeps me at a place where, regardless of what life throws at me, I know that I can get past it, because I got past that, and I didn't do it alone. I had a community of people in my faith that kind of helped me in doing all of that, but that's my why, and that's what, good, bad, or ugly, that's what keeps me going.
I think that's incredible. I think obviously that's a testimony for you being powerful today and just standing in your truth and being able to lean forward on your path. And I heard a saying recently, and I think I heard it before, but I'd like to share with you and the viewers. And I think it's so true that we don't learn from our successes. We learn from our failures, our setbacks, the things that we don't, that happen to us that we could not see coming, the unexpected. And that's clearly a testament that you being on food stamps, what I do like is the idea that you got it done, that this was, you had to do this in order to get to the next step. It was a means to an end, and that there was a new chapter around the corner. Did you feel that level of certainty during that chapter that this is not going to last forever?
Yes. And the reason that I did is because I grew up with a mother who, there was no such thing as I can't. That wasn't something that she herself lived. That's not something she demonstrated, and that's not something that she instilled in us as children. And so, when you have your own business, some people think having your own business means that you're just going to be rich and wealthy, right? But a lot of the time when you have your own business, a lot of your money goes back into your own business, right? And there was one time when, and hopefully you can see the connection in all of this. We had a Christmas tree, and it was one of the trees where it has the branches, and you have to put the 1,500 branches, on the pole, right? And it takes forever to put it together, and we couldn't find the pole for the Christmas tree. And my mom, again, was one of, I'm not giving up. I'm going to make sure my kids have what they need. And so she went to her station wagon and she got out a microphone, a stand. And so she comes into the room with this microphone stand and she wires all of the branches of the Christmas tree onto the microphone stand. And so next thing you know, we had a Christmas tree, right? And our Christmas tree was actually much cooler than everybody else's Christmas tree because it moved up and down, like a microphone stand does. I mean, it like did all kinds of everything. And so the disadvantage of that is that she couldn't figure out how to get the branches off the tree, and because she tied them on so well, so it became the Valentine's tree, and then it was an Easter tree, and so the tree was just there, forever. But that she was a person who she found a way to make it happen. That's just like a fun story of no matter what it was, if it was something that we needed, she found a way to make it happen, and at the end it did. And so that's the kind of stuff that I grew up with the creativity and I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to make sure that we have what we need, even if it meant that we're going to put some branches on a microphone stand. My kids are going to have a Christmas tree. So that mindset for me was, I'm getting through college. I'm going to actually have a different life. My son God blessed me with an amazing son, who, when he was 2 years old and I didn't have a babysitter, he would sit there in class with me with a notebook and pen, just like he was in school, and so it was amazing where he would, like, at 2 and 3 years old, he was in class with me. I would practice the violin and he would tell me, "Oh, Mama, I don't think that's the way it sounds." Like he would tell me, or, and so it was amazing, but I never had, I was just focused because I grew up with the mindset of, I'm not going to just settle for I can't, or we just don't have. We're going to find a way to make it happen. And so, and then we did.
So from what you're saying, that really carried you through, even though there was no one else in the family that had experienced what you were experiencing, that being a single mom, being a just being having those chapters that you had. Was family supportive of you during that time? Were they, were they doing the things that you needed for them to do so that you had the right support just behind you that anybody would want?
Yeah. So my mom was a single mom with my sister and I, and so when it was time for me to go to school, I went from Miami to Ohio and went to school at Athens University in Ohio, and my grandfather lived in Ohio as well, and so I had family connection there where I was able to come on weekends to be able to spend time with my granddad, and I had that support, and then I had my mom and my sister there to be able to support me along the way. And but I moved to this little teeny tiny town where if you picked up the university, there was wheat fields, like there was nothing, right? And so I had to kind of also create my own support to a certain extent because I didn't have anybody there around me, like in the vicinity of my school. And I think that that's where I learned, that I don't think in life we're supposed to go through the journey by ourselves. I mean, we're supposed to be connected to others. And so I ended up, even though I was much older than a lot of the kids who were in school with me, because I was 25, when I went back. You're typically 18 when you start college, and so the plus is that they all thought I was really smart, when they would ask me questions about life, and I'm like, "Oh honey, I've been there." It's all good because I'm grown with a kid. But I also created my own support system. So I had my family, I had my sister, I had my grandfather nearby, who was there for support. But then I also had amazing friends, who then became family, who I still speak to today, that were there to be able to help me, but also help me with my son as well.
That's incredible. That's incredible. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we will be right back here on the Health Revolution.
Coming this spring, by popular demand, the second season show on the Tour of Love.
And the E360 TV platform is saying we want the Tour of Love.
With winner of the first Global Impactor Award, Tamara Hunter, along with Emmy-winning co-host Skip Thomas.
We are going on tour, on the road. It's time. Love unites, and there is healing through connections. This is a worldwide movement, the Tour of Love.
We're back here on the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. We've been spending some quality time with my guest, Cornelia Stevens, who is a mover and a shaker, CEO of several learning centers, and also a beauty blends entrepreneur. And I know we were talking about, Cornelia, we were talking about your journey and how your takeaways for your foundation, metaphorically speaking, about where you are today. And I'd like to tap into how you've been able to tap into that creativity and do what you do on the beauty side of things. Can you share with us those beginning steps and what that looked like?
Sure. So, after I got certified as a custom blend artist, I started blending foundations for people in my home studio where I am now. And initially I was a little bit nervous because, you're trying to like match somebody's skin, and I don't want to have them look like an Oompa Loompa when I'm done. I want them to actually look like themselves. And then the pandemic hit. And so shortly after I started, we all of a sudden the world shuts down, and it's kind of difficult to put makeup on people when you won't let them in your house, right? Everybody's locked down and you can't really do anything. And so I said, okay, well, maybe I need to venture into, social media. A lot of people are growing their business on social media. And so I decided that TikTok was going to be my platform. And so that would have been February of 2021. At that time, I had 2 videos on TikTok, and they were both videos of me dancing with my daughter, because that's what I thought you did on TikTok, is that you dance and you lip sync. I didn't know that you can learn how to build a car on TikTok. Now, I did not know all of this, but you can learn everything on there. And I decided to post some videos of me blending my foundation and applying it. And not really knowing how people would respond or what would happen, to that. And next thing you know, fast forward today, and I have 65,000 followers on TikTok. I've blended hundreds of foundations for people, and the majority of my business is virtual. I use a combination of pictures and videos. And so people first schedule a consult to meet with me to learn more about their formula, because it's completely customized to skin tone, skin type, the level of coverage, texture, finish, feel, all of that is customized to their preference. Then they send me pictures, and I give them instructions for what I need regarding pictures. And then I blend up their formula. I have 7 different base colors I choose from. I pick the one that's the closest to their skin. And then I use that color theory I talked about earlier, where I add the blue and yellow or green or purple or whatever colors I need to adjust it to match their skin tone. And so the process itself is actually pretty cool. The science behind it is actually very neat. A lot of times I actually blend the foundations live, so people can actually see me on TikTok blending their makeup. And so that's actually pretty cool, to see somebody making your makeup.
That's how I came across you. I was scrolling on TikTok, and I was like, well, what's this? And I was incredibly amazed at what you were doing, because if it were me, it just kind of at first glance looked like you were just putting all kinds of colors together. Mm-hmm. But of course, tuning in and hearing your direction, things were starting to come together. I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh my goodness.
I can't wait to blend your foundation. And so that is my gift to you. So we will be doing that, when we're done. I can't wait to blend your foundation. And it's interesting to me because, people think, okay, it's just makeup, right? But the reality is, some say, okay, well, you should feel beautiful about yourself even when you're not wearing makeup. And this is not about people not feeling beautiful about themselves. It's about being able to see yourself. A lot of people don't realize that, especially for women of color, once upon a time, makeup was not designed to have us look like ourselves. It was actually designed to make our skin lighter, and people don't realize that. And so I had my first aha moment with this when I was blending a foundation for a lady who was older than me. And I asked her to apply the sample that because after I blend the foundation, I send a sample to my client so that I can check the match and see what adjustments. I'm kind of a perfectionist, but I figure you want me to be a perfectionist if you want it to actually match, right? And
Yes.
she's applying her sample, and I asked her because I want to see what I need to adjust to match your actual skin tone. And she said, "So you're trying to match my skin tone?" I said, "Yes." And she started crying. And she said, I'm going to just wait a minute, please. And she just sat there crying. And I'm thinking, goodness, what did I do? Like I'm thinking, okay, what did I say wrong? What did I do? And she's old enough where she remembers the first bottle of foundation that she had was it specifically to make her lighter, than she was. There was allegedly something wrong with her color, where she needed to be
Wow.
lighter than she was. And so it was this profound moment to her, that I was actually focused on matching her skin tone, and I wanted to specifically be her, to match her. And she cried. And I thought, okay, there you go. That says right there in terms of, what this is not just about, like, I want to feel pretty or whatever, but it says something when you can't find yourself in the makeup that you buy. And so I have lots of stories, like that of people with much lighter skin tone, darker skin tone. It does not matter. People waited like 30 years to find a color that matches their skin tone. And to be able to bring that to people is amazing.
I think what an incredible story because as you're saying that I forgot about that, and I think that in the very beginning, and I've struggled with makeup because I've not put as much time into it just over the years, but I do remember feeling like I'm supposed to pick a lighter shade, but no one ever told me that. But I guess looking back at that, I'm not quite sure where I got that message, but somehow I got that message that I'm supposed to pick a lighter shade.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I guess, and it's pinging for me in my mind of okay, we can connect these dots. And I
Hmm.
love the fact that you are, that how specific you are when you work with women. And do you feel that that those who you've collaborated with, that do they do they automatically sense their level of individuality, or does this become bigger for them than what they previously thought?
I would say that I've had a good number, a significant number of women who have come back to me. Um, they're not going to a store to buy a different color. They're not, because this is them in a bottle. I mean, this is that's what they said. This is me in a bottle. Why would I go someplace different? And there's a sense of confidence that happens when it looks like your skin just smoother and healthier and whatever, but it's your skin. There's definitely, I've had some say there's just a level of confidence that happens when I don't look like I went shopping and put somebody else's head on my neck, because there's this dreaded line that is there, that it looks like it doesn't belong, right? And so it looks like me. It looks like it belongs on my person and my body. And then, especially for those who have had those struggles, there's definitely an increased sense of confidence, that's there, because there is nothing wrong with them. There's actually a Brazilian artist. Her name is Angelica Das, and she's been doing a study. She's actually has a book that's published where she has been taking pictures of people's skin tones and putting it on a Pantone wheel. And I believe that she's at like 2 or 3 thousand different skin tones
Oh,
in her collection so far. And if you think about that, then that means that it's great when a company says we have 26 different shades. Well, that's great. But if she has 2 to 3 thousand people with different skin tones on her Pantone wheel of the human rainbow, then that explains why people have such a hard time in finding foundations that match their skin. Because the 26 colors is not enough. The however many colors is not enough. And it's not like nobody should have to manufacture 3,000 colors. You can't do that. But that's why custom blend comes in, and is able to help so many people.
wow. So I find that fast. I never knew that. So I'm learning here right alongside our conversation. Do you along the way in those beginning stages when you were getting your foot grounded in this line of work and this craft, were there things along the way that you discovered about the beauty industry that maybe that you didn't know before, or that maybe it's not common knowledge, or anything that comes up for you that maybe was a little surprising?
Well, there is a reality that the beauty industry itself is can be very competitive. But that is that's the nature of the beast in terms of the beauty industry. Now, within those of us who are certified as custom blend artists, we help and support each other, and so I've been very pleasantly surprised, with my fellow custom blend artists, how responsive and supportive everybody is. But by nature, when if you are like a cosmetologist, it is not uncommon to train and support some new person as an apprentice, as somebody who is new to the business, and then they leave and take all of the skills that you've given them, and they open their own studio, or they go and work for the competition, or whomever. And so you have that happen a lot in the industry, but that's just typical. People want to branch out on their own. They want to do their own thing. So the competitiveness, exists, but it is what it is. And so I just stay in my lane. I know what I do, and you don't have to like it. You don't have to love it. I'm good. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I'm happy with where I am. And so I think that has definitely been maybe a little eye-opening, just because you hear about it, but then you see some of the competitive nature of some in the industry or whatnot. But we're all people are trying to eat. People are trying to take care of the business. They're trying to make ends meet. They're trying to get new customers. They're trying to that kind of stuff. And so so it's not because they're trying to knock you down, or they're trying to whatever. They're just trying to take care of self, right? And so you can't fault the competition, because a little healthy competition is good, because that keeps you focused. That lets you know that you've got to stay on your A game, in what you're doing. And but that's definitely been something that's been, it's been interesting to walk through that process.
What do you think has been the most fascinating thing about understanding this line of craft? Because I look at it as artistry and craft, and this is definitely a very big hat that you wear. What were some neat things that you learned in the beginning stages as you understood how foundations worked, or how you were creating your signature line of work?
So I think the first for me was that I needed to trust myself. I needed to trust my eyes. And after we get certified, we're challenged to blend 30 faces in 30 days. And part of the reason why we're challenged to do that is so that we create that muscle memory of everything that we've learned on the books in terms of color theory, et cetera. But you have to just dive in, and I talked about me using that left and right side of my brain. And so the side of me that is over analytical wanted to study all the shade, the purple and the pink and the yellow and the blue and the green, and what does it do, and what do all of the colors mean, and all of that. And eventually I had to just do it. And so the first thing that I think I learned through the process is to trust myself, to trust my eyes, and that there's nothing that I'm doing that I can't undo. That's kind of the cool thing about color theory, is that once you understand it, if I make someone too orange, then all I do is I add blue. And so there's nothing that I'm going to do that I can't undo. And so that was the other thing of learning, is that, I can mess up. But there's not a single, not just in this realm, but there's not a single craft that anybody learns that they don't say, oops, okay, that didn't work, right? And so you mix a different formula and you try it again, right? And so so I think the biggest thing was, there's nothing that I can do that I can't correct. And I have to trust myself. And trusting myself, especially virtually, was challenging. I started out only blending friends and family, because, again, I did not want them to look like an Oompa Loompa. And I was, blending them via pictures. And so since it might take a couple of samples, I wanted to make sure I was blending for people who loved me, because I knew that they would be patient and it would be okay. And but it took time. It took a process. But the biggest thing was just being willing to step out there, to be willing to show people what I'm doing. Although I grew up in the theater world, I'm actually very introverted. Apparently I'm this introverted extrovert. My mom says, yes, I know. I spent a lot of money on that. That's what she will say. Um, and so, but to grow up in the theater world and sing in nightclubs, but, during our breaks in our nightclubs, I was in the corner reading a book, and that's literally what I was doing because I like being by myself. And next thing you know, I'm on TikTok. Right. And so that's not my comfort zone. That's not where I am. But I had to find Bebe because she was comfortable in doing that stuff. Right. And so I had to bring Bebe back, and in order to do all of that. And so I think part of the discovery as I was learning all of this, was trust in me, not just in my skill and ability, but also me as a person, and being willing to take the leap of putting yourself out there because there's a level of vulnerability that comes from social media, because there are people, sometimes people aren't too nice on social media, right? And that's just the reality. And but it's been a journey. I think a journey that's made me stronger, honestly.
I love the fact that you said that the first and foremost you trusted yourself, and it seems like in life that defining factor is whether or not we've broken promises to ourselves.
Mhm.
So if we toe our line, and as I'm hearing you tell your story, you towed your line, you took ownership, you took action, you didn't say something and didn't follow through. That you dove in, you invested your time and your just learning about how to really cultivate and refine your skills. And I think that's why that this was able to be a success for you, and that trusting yourself, following through, just things start to integrate.
Exactly.
And
that's
go ahead.
And I think that's the hardest thing is, especially when you've been through some trials, when you've been through, where something didn't work or what maybe at the time you viewed as a failure, is this going to work? And, when there's people who have been doing something longer than you have. I'm not a licensed makeup artist. I'm not a professional. We have people who are like celebrity makeup artists who are doing what I'm doing. And so am I really going to be able to, stack up to, the work that they're doing? And the answer is yes. If I believe in myself and I want to do it, then I can.
Yes. And I love the fact that just how personalized that this approach is, and just, and how you're just that level of connection that you do have with those that you work with. What is the one thing that surprises you along this journey? What's the one thing or there could be several, but what's one thing that maybe you didn't see coming about this journey, this hat that you wear?
The friendships that I formed with people who I have never seen before personally in life. The necklace that I'm wearing right now was actually given to me by a client who I blended a foundation for. And so I have people where, I know about the delivery of their babies, of them getting married, of the grandchildren who are coming, the weather disasters they've been through. I formed very, very nice friendships with people that are that I didn't expect. I figured you were going to order a foundation, I was going to blend it, and then you would just call me when you want to refill, or go to my website or whatever. And the connection, because I think that's important to me, it's not about the makeup, it's about being able to help someone see themselves, and me be able to help find that. And part of that means I also get to know the people that I work with. And so this, for example, was given when I learned that I had MS, and this is a mustard seed. And so this was, again, a gift from someone, that I blended for. And I think that to me was the biggest surprise is the connection that I made with the people that I've worked with. But I think to me that speaks to why I do what I do, because it is about being able to connect, with people and help see them see themselves, but also maybe them see a little bit of me, I guess, as well, with that connection. So.
Yes, fantastic. I'd like for us to dive into MS and your story. And first, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back here on the Health Revolution.
is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a Buddies Network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
We're back here on the Health Revolution. We're spending some quality and productive time with my guest, the incredible Cornelia Stevens, also known as Bebe, beauty blends expert. And we were now talking about her journey with MS. Can you share a little bit about when you learned that you had this and how this has impacted your life going forward?
Yeah. So last June, I was actually in the shower, and I got out the shower and went to wipe my leg, my left leg, and I couldn't feel the towel on the from my knee below. It was numb. I couldn't feel the towel, and I thought, okay, maybe I slept wrong, or something like that, or whatever, and so it's okay. But throughout the day, I still couldn't feel much anything, on from the knee down, and so that was on a Sunday. That Monday, I woke up and it moved up to my my hip. I couldn't feel anything from my leg all the way down. And so I called my doctor and said, okay, this is not normal. Something is happening here. And I went in for an appointment, and he said, okay, if anything changes, let me know. We're going to schedule some MRIs so we can see what's happening, but just keep me posted if anything changes. The following day from the appointment, I woke up, and from my rib cage all the way down on the left side of my body, I had no feeling at all. And so at that point, I called my doctor, and he said, tell your husband, is somebody there to take you to the hospital, because we're going to the hospital. And so that began a month-long stay in the hospital as they were testing to figure out what was going on. Literally, if they put a safety pin in my leg or in my stomach or anywhere on the left side of my body, I could not feel it. And so that's how bad it was. And so they did a lumbar puncture, and they did blood work, and they did several things. And some things came back with markers that were but potential MS. But at that time, I had lesions in my spine. I had one lesion in my spine when I got there, and it was in the T9-10 area. And while I was there, I started having similar symptoms on the right side. And so it was spreading over to the right side of my body. And so I went in and got another MRI. And while I was there, the first week of being there, I had a second lesion appear in the T5-6 area of my spine. And at that point, they're thinking, okay, this is kind of looking like MS. And they gave me massive steroid treatments, and I ended up having to have a plasmapheresis is what it's called, a plasma exchange, to be able to flush the inflammation and everything out of my system. And I was able to get my feelings back, which was good. And then was referred to a neurologist in the community so that he can do further assessment. Typically with MS, you have to have multiple lesions in different locations that form over different times. And I only had lesions in my spine. I didn't have any lesions in my brain when I was in the hospital. And typically you have them in your spine and your brain. So my neurologist decided to send me to Mayo Clinic. And in October of last year, I went to Mayo and spent a week there with a team of neurologists, and everything that ended with ist, I saw there, it seems. I saw all of the specialists, and I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. And it turns out that I did have lesions in my brain and in my spine. And so that was kind of the beginning of a journey, because there's, as of right now, there's no cure. And so I went from, life as I know it in one thing, and all of a sudden it's totally different. And so, it's been quite the journey, quite the adventure, but that was how I found out everything. So
How are you navigating through your days when some days are just more challenging than others? What helps you get through it?
So that whole not quit attitude, is there. But I've also had to learn that it's okay to not do, something. If my body is saying it can't do it, I think the biggest thing for me, I'm used to going to sleep at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. I'm up blending at midnight. I'm up filming a video for TikTok, and my 20-year-old daughter will come in and say, my mom is doing a TikTok right now, whatever. I'm up, but now my body can't do that. And so I've had to learn to adjust and to listen to my body, which is not something that I did before. But now if I don't listen to my body will take control, and that doesn't work well. I have a hard time accepting that, though. Because it's hard. It's very hard when you aren't able to do everything in the same way that you did it before. And it's not that you can't do it, you just have to do a little bit different. But I'm not one who I like to consider myself a strong woman, and there was, and well, thank you. And I remember one day I went down to my husband and I laid my head on his lap and I just started crying. And he didn't know what to do because I don't cry very often, right? Because again, I don't cry very often. I just don't. That's not a good or bad thing. I mean, I just don't cry very often. Probably a bad thing. I probably need to be more in touch with my emotions. But anyway, he didn't know what to do. And I said, I'm tired of being strong. I'm tired of being strong. And he said, then don't. And he, rubbed my back, and I laid there and I was just there kind of crying for like 5 minutes. And then I looked at it and I said, okay, that was good. I'm going back upstairs. And then I went back upstairs and continued making makeup, and I was all good or whatever. I just had to have that moment, where I just kind of broke down. And so sometimes it's just allowing myself to feel, allowing myself to just stop and take care of me and finding balance. And that's how I keep going. If I had to come to a place where I realized that I don't have to be full steam ahead and in order to be productive. It's okay for me to step back and take care of me. And it means maybe I have to slow down a little bit, and that's okay. But again, my why is my children, as being there and not being in a place where I'm not able to work and do anything anymore. And if I push myself, I could end up in that place. So it really is just finding that balance, not pushing myself, but also knowing that I can do what I can do, and being okay with that. But then also surprising myself, also along the way, because, there are days when I feel perfectly fine and there's nothing, that you wouldn't know that there's anything wrong with me at all. And on those days I take advantage of it, and I play with my grandchildren, and I go and live life and do as much as I possibly can, on those days when I'm feeling well. And then the days when I need to sleep, I sleep.
I love that. I absolutely love that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back here on the Health Revolution.
Jeff Pearson here, host of Invisible Condition, where we talk about all the people who are living and thriving with all those conditions that you can't necessarily see from the outside. Join me every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on E360 TV.
We're back here on the Health Revolution, and we've been spending time with Cornelia Bebe Stevens, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, but your journey is so remarkable. I love the sense of sweet spirit that you have, that resilience, that determination. What would you say to those who maybe just found out about MS and are not quite sure where to start?
So the first thing I would say is stay off of Dr. Google. And so that would be the first thing that I would say, because nothing good comes from that. I'm just letting you know you'll diagnose yourself with all kinds of things, and so stay away from that. I would say, unfortunately with MS looks different for everybody. And so it's not a one size fits all. One person may have one set of symptoms, one person may have another, but find a network. There are lots of support groups out there for people with MS where you can share stories, where people understand what it's like on Monday to be perfectly fine, and then on Wednesday to need a cane, because you can hardly walk, and so it's nice to be able to talk to people, not be afraid to get a second opinion and to go through all of the tests. And some of the tests are scary, but it's okay. You need to do that to be able to figure out, what's going on so that you can develop a plan to be able to live a long, healthy life. There's a lot of medication now with the MS that didn't exist before, where we can have long, full lives, and so there's been a lot of advancements there. And so, do your work, do your research, trust the physicians that you work with, and you have to change your diet. That's the thing I'm working on right now, is changing my diet and trying to say no to the chips and the candy and the stuff that I like, but just being healthy and taking care of yourself. But more than anything, just being able to reach out to others who are experiencing the same thing, because that's going to be your biggest support system.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I want to go ahead and bring up your website. And so we're going to bring that up here. Where can viewers find you? So say they, like me, who are completely intrigued about just getting that customized blend. Where are you? Where can they find you? What does that look like?
Sure. So you can first go to my website that you see there, bebesbeauty.com. You can also find me on TikTok, which is Blended by Bebe. That's my business name. And so Blended by Bebe on TikTok, and also Blended by Bebe on Instagram. And so you can see videos there of me blending foundations. You also see pictures of people with their foundation on. And it does not matter how light or how dark you are, I can blend a foundation to match your skin. And so, or if you just want to connect and learn more about what I do, or just say hi, or even talk to me about MS, I'm certainly open to any conversation. But there's my website, and then also again TikTok, Blended by Bebe.
And I'll tell you, that's how I was able to connect with you, because your level of openness, and I can attest that it doesn't matter the skin tone, how light, how dark, and you certainly have such that artistic magic about you and your level of care. And I just I'm so honored now to have known you and to be connected with you. And I'm so glad that we had some time today to talk.
Absolutely. And I thank you so much for having me on. This has been quite the treat, and I appreciate that. I'm very excited to see the replay of all of this when it's done. So yeah, very excited.
Yes, absolutely. And for everyone who is tuning in, thank you so much for taking the time to learn all about our episode. You can catch us here Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Achieve TV channel on E360 TV. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until next time, take care. We will see you then.